Am I too needy? Is asking for reassurance normal? Was it a sign that I'm actually, too much? Why do I feel guilty when I express my needs? If you ever found yourself lying awake at night questioning whether your relationship needs are valid, you are at the right place. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly the difference between a healthy need and a fear-driven demand, so you can stop questioning yourself and start feeling more secure in your relationship. Shout out to the amazing soul who reached out to me on Instagram, who this episode is written for. Welcome to episode 1 of Meet Your Relationship Needs series. This is the first of 8 videos where I'll help you transform your relationship with your needs. I've added this into the YouTube playlist as well, which you can find in the description below. If you're on Spotify and Apple, you can just keep listening as you go along, because I will sprinkle them in once or twice a week, mixed in with regular content. Welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. I'm Yula. I went from feeling super detached about my own needs, abandoning myself, putting others always before my own needs, trying to please others, worrying being liked, or always being perceived as the needy or the clingy one, to being able to identify my need, fulfilling my need, and putting myself first, not from a selfish place, but from what I can take care of myself now, and I'm worthy and I'm good enough, so I can now put myself first. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist or doctor. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or heal any mental health condition. If you're in an abusive relationship or dealing with severe mental health challenges, always seek professional advice. And I stopped overly relying on my partner and other people to get my needs fulfilled, which is so empowering. And still, by the way, asking for reassurance or validation is extremely normal and is completely okay. But if this comes from a place of over-reliance, where you only feel good when they give you reassurance or validation, then this becomes a problem. By the way, at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you 7 journaling prompts that really help you figure out if this is a healthy, like a reasonable need, or more like an unhealthy, an unreasonable need. So stick around for the end. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but having needs is not needy. It doesn't make you a needy person. It just makes you human. You might just ask more often than other people to get your needs fulfilled by others because you have simply not learned to get them fulfilled by yourself. And that's not your fault, but it's now your responsibility to do this. Because if you have an anxious attachment style like I used to have, chances are that you've spent, years of abandoning yourself and your needs and minimizing them, ignoring them, or shaping them around what someone else's actually want rather than what you actually want. And when you did express them, maybe you were told you were too much or too clingy or too sensitive. So then you have learned to get your needs met through someone else instead of fulfilling them yourself. You learn that it's too dangerous to express yourself because this means rejection. This means people might leave you, and this felt very dangerous for you. And that's where really the problem has started. Because when you don't know how to really fulfill your own needs, everything really starts to become very urgent, desperate, non-negotiable. Your partner not replying back to you fast enough feels like a rejection, feels very personal to you. It might feel like they don't really care about you, you're not a priority to them. Them needing space feels like an abandonment. It means like they should really know that you want to hear back from them. And every unmet trigger feels like this panic instead of, just a reflection about it's about them rather than about you. Here's the truth. There is nothing wrong with you having a need, but where they come from really matters. So there are more empowering ways to get them fulfilled. There's this huge difference between having needs and being needy. When you have an anxious attachment style, it's easy to blur the line between the two. So I need you to text me back right away, or I'll feel anxious and overthink if you don't reassure me daily or on a weekly basis. Another unreasonable need might be more like, you're supposed to make me wanted and chosen and a priority, and you're supposed to make me feel safe. Versus an healthy needs might sound more like I need emotional connection to feel close in my relationship, or it's important for me to feel valued and heard. Or another example, how a healthy need might sound more like is like I need respect to feel safe, or consistency helps me to feel safe with you. It's like less threatening, right? Do you see the difference? The unhealthy needs comes more from this fear and urgency. I need you to do this for me or else. It comes from this desperate place, like this grabbing from security. I'm starving if you can't give this to me. Healthy needs come from this self-awareness and self-respect. And if you can't give this to me, okay, fine. But then I have to go. There's no desperation. There's no threat. There's no resentment. It's more like, hey, this is what I need, and if this can't be given, okay, fair enough, but then we're not a match. They're about what actually helps you to thrive and to really live under your conditions, to really feel safe. It's not controlling your partner to give you constant reassurance or validation just because you feel insecure or because you have something missing inside you, if that makes sense. So the distinction between needs and wants is very crucial for this concept. What is actually my core need? What do I really, really need in this relationship? Versus what is my want? What is my nice to have? So core needs are the values, emotional necessities that are essential for your well-being. Things like feeling emotional safe with someone or even physical safe. No matter if you're in a relationship, if you're single, if you're dating, if you're married for 10, 20, 30 years, these are your values. These are foundational core blocks you always want to have. So you really want to identify what are your main needs. Respect, safety, honesty, and trust are fundamental human requirements. Then their preferred methods. These are just the specific ways you want these core needs to be fulfilled. So like texting back within a certain amount of time, spending time together in a particular way, or expressing love using specific words. For example, we all need security and respect and connection, but how these needs get fulfilled and met is not in your control. You can't tell your partner, you have to make me feel secure within this method. It's up to really your partner how he makes you feel secure. You can't tell him what to do. You can make a wish and express your preference, but exactly what your partner does is really up to them. What your friends do, what your colleagues do, how people behave in your environment is up to them. It's just up to you if you choose if this is good enough or not. So if your core value is respect, ever respect for you, it could mean that your partner always comes on time if you have a date. Respect could also mean for another person that if your partner, for example, late, that they just text you or they call you, or maybe if they rather cancel ahead of time so you don't sit there, or you just know exactly what's going on. So the meaning could be completely different. So don't mix up a core value with your preferred method, because this is where it really gets tricky and where you start becoming maybe controlling out of anxiety rather than, hey, you know what? I can focus on what I can control, and is this really a core need or is this more my preferred method? Another example, your core need might be I need consistency and reliability in my relationship. A preferred method of yours could be you must, text me every morning for that to happen, and I want to reply every 20 minutes if I message you, and I don't want you to ever cancel any plans like this. That could be a preferred method. And like everyone has a different texting method. Like, for example, I myself as well get very overwhelmed when some people text me back right away. I don't even want to text back right away, because then if the person always messaged me back right away, where does it ever end? If everyone replies back right away, we have this never-ending chain of messages and messages and messages. And if you do this with every single person, the conversation will never end until someone says, you know what, let's move this conversation to another day. Just because we have the ability to text back right away doesn't mean you have to, unless it's very something, hey, you know what, I'm in the supermarket, do we need anything else? Of course, that's completely different. But again, not everyone always checks in on their phone every day. For example, me and my partner, we know that when we call each other, it's really something important, because I have my phone on silent most of the time, because I'm someone who gets overwhelmed. I'm a highly sensitive person. I get overwhelmed when I have a lot of messages and pop-ups on my phone. I'm just checking on my phone a few times a day and that's it. But if it's something urgent, I know my partner can call me, or my family members, and that's it. So when you mistake your preferred method for your core needs, you end up, just creating these rigid rules for your partner who never really agreed on these rules, right? You limit all the beautiful ways your need could be actually fulfilled, and you might not even see their way, how they fulfill your need already. So this is exactly where anxious attachment plays these tricks on you, and it convinces you that if your partner doesn't follow your rules, that then this means, hey, they don't love you, and they're not choosing you, and they don't want to make you feel secure and safe, and they're not that into you, and they will leave you, and it's personal. But this is all your anxious attachment style playing tricks on you. By the way, if you want to take this deeper, I have 2 mini courses that are very, very affordable. One, how to stop overthinking your relationship with your avoidant partner in just 4 steps. In this course, I'll teach you exactly why you can't stop overthinking, even if you've tried everything, in just 4 simple steps. This is specifically for anyone who has an anxious attachment style, who's in a relationship with an avoidant and attached partner. And then the second mini course is for someone with a text anxiety, someone who's tired of obsessing over texts from their partner, someone who seeks out a lot of reassurance or validation from their partner, worries about what just the thumbs up means, being very anxious when their partner doesn't text often enough, and generally having a lot of anxiety around how often they text, why, and all of these things. I'll help you to really break free from your phone anxiety and take control of your emotions. And why is this so important? Because delayed texts are not about your partner. Actually, it's more about you, about your abandonment wounds and rejection wounds, and trying to get your partner to change their texting behaviors, or how often they text you back and what they say, or how fast they text you back won't help you actually, because you can't change their texting behaviors, and it won't heal your abandonment wounds. It only increases your anxiety. So you really want to work with your anxiety and not trying to change the world around you like other people. Again, these 2 courses are still in beta round, so unpolished versions, meaning the price is very low right now. And once I approved everything, I will re-record everything and the prices will go up. So the links are in the description below, in the show notes, or on YouTube in the description. So grab them now if you still want the reduced version. So now let's talk about the manual you have for your partner, for your friends, and people around you that they are not even aware of. So when you have an anxious attachment style, you develop this invisible rule book, the manual. It's like a rule book, a playbook for how your partner should behave, for how they should make you feel. This manual, this rule book really comes directly from your anxious attachment wounds. It might include rules like they should text me back within 30 minutes, or they don't care about me. If they love me, they would. If they love me, they would check in when I'm upset without me asking. Or another rule could be they shouldn't need space, because this means they're pulling away. This is a very common rule a lot of my clients have, and another rule I used to have a lot of times as well. And the problem with these rules are your partner never has agreed on any of these rules, right? And you never have even shared these rules with your partner. Of course not. Instead, you silently judge their love or their actions on how they follow these rules they don't even know exists. And this is just your anxious attachment in action, which makes sense if you think about it. Creating invisible tests to really prove someone's love, because creating invisible tests proving someone's love because you don't trust that you're lovable enough otherwise. And now let's talk about the myth that the need is there for your partner to fulfill. That if our partner truly loves us, they would meet all of our needs. Like I heard this so many times, even from relationship coaches and from therapists. I've heard once a therapist telling two clients to create a list of each other's needs, to exchange the list, and then to fulfill your partner's needs. But this just doesn't work. I can't just change my love language easily just to make my partner happy. You can't just fulfill all your partner's needs. You really need to fulfill your own needs, and then everything else is an addition. One of my clients, she loved expressing herself with poetry and words, and she really wanted her partner to be more expressive because he was very quiet, he never said much, and he was more the act of service kind of guy. And so she really pushed for him, but he was literally not the guy who was expressive. Like when he tried to write a letter, it was very short and it was very forced, and in the end she realized, he's just not the guy who just writes poetry, and you can't just force someone to change because that's not who they are. And then once she realized, hey, you know what? I see now what he's actually doing for me. These little acts of when he takes care of her when she's sick, or just, buys her some flowers on the way just to put a smile on her face. This now means so much more for her than it did before, because before she didn't actually realize that this was his love language. All I'm trying to say is your needs are there to get met by yourself first, and everything else is an addition. So needs are your responsibility first. A partner can support them, but they're not the source of them. If you can expect your partner to fulfill every need, you'll always feel disappointed. Think about it this way. Your need for emotional safety, that starts with how you treat yourself first. Like I used to always have this big inner bully. I was always like judging myself for how I looked, how I talked, how I expressed myself. And of course, I can't feel emotionally safe if I bully myself all the time. How can I create emotional safety? So even if my partner would give me then some compliments, I would then have 60,000 thoughts a day that are about self-hate, and like 3 words from my partner a day that are positive wouldn't make up for that. So if you're constantly doubting or abandoning yourself emotionally, no amount of reassurance from your partner will ever be enough. The goal isn't to remove your needs, it's to own them. Instead of I need my partner to make me feel loved or to make me feel chosen or a priority, shift to I can get this through multiple sources, including myself first. And then I can see how my partner can be this addition, this extra. And now let's go to the 7 journaling prompts to check if your needs are healthy or unhealthy. And I highly recommend think about a specific need you're not sure about to get more clarity right now, or save this episode for later. So journaling prompt number 1. Is this need coming from a place of fear or security? A healthy need would be, for example, I want more. A healthy need would be, for example, I want more quality time because I love feeling connected, because you enjoy their company, not because you need it to feel secure. That's the difference. An unhealthy need here would be, if you don't spend more time together, my partner will lose interest in me. This is unhealthy because you're trying to control the outcome. Think of it like this, like ordering food when you're hungry versus when you're starving. Can you see the difference? When you're just hungry, you can choose thoughtfully, versus when you're starving, you grab anything and, you're accepting breadcrumbs and you're just panicking. Do I want my partner to fulfill this need because I lack this in myself? A healthy need would be here, for example, I love their support, but I also know how to self-soothe, because you're both complete and they're just this addition, right? An unhealthy need would be, I need them to calm me down every time I feel anxious, because I haven't really learned to self-soothe myself and I really overly rely on my partner for this. By the way, this is very common. And like a client of mine who realized she was using her partner as her, emotional oxygen tank. She couldn't really breathe without his constant reassurance. Now she has her own oxygen through meditation and journaling, and really she has learned to self-soothe. And this is something that might be strange at the beginning, because think about it like this. If you, let's say, in your mid-30s and for 30 plus years you've never really learned this, you've over-relied on your parents first and then on your partner to really feel okay and safe, this takes time. So a lot of people come to me and it's like, oh yeah, I've tried meditation, I've tried journaling, I've tried to talk to myself positively, I try to process my emotions and all of these things, but it doesn't really have the same effect. No, of course not. You've tried it maybe, was it 3 times, 5 times? It takes more repetitions. When I started yoga first, I've tried it for 4 minutes. I was on top of my bed when I was living in this very, very tiny apartment in London. So I had to do yoga on my bed, literally. I didn't even have a yoga mat, nothing. So I tried yoga for a few minutes on a bed, and it wasn't even like a beginner's yoga course. It was literally like a more advanced class, and I gave up and I never tried it since ever until a few years later. So maybe I'm just trying to say that you might need a different approach, or you might want to try the second or third or fourth, maybe even the 10th time. Does it make sense? I hope. Journaling prompt number 3 is, if my partner meets this need, will it ever feel like enough to me? So a healthy need might sound more like, yes, I would feel reassured and fulfilled, because healthy needs can be, really satisfied here. An unhealthy need sounds more like, no matter what they do, like my partner, for example, I always need more of this. For example, if you have an abandonment wound, no matter how much reassurance you get from your partner, it's never enough, because you have this wound inside you. Imagine you have this bucket with holes. So if they fill your bucket, the water will run out anyway, because it's never enough water, because you are holy. By the way, before we continue, make sure you make use of my attachment library. It's for free. There's lots of free resources in there. Again, linked in the description below, or show notes. You can find there lots of free journaling prompts and worksheets and cheat sheets, like the worry-free flowchart for relationship anxiety, the self-esteem toolkit to re-attract your partner again and to really feel good enough and worthy, the anxiously secure checklist, which is very popular, which gives you more of a step-by-step guide on what helped me to become securely attached, the journaling prompts to discover the roots of your anxious attachment style, the Stop Being Needy guide, and needy in air quotes, and also quizzes like, finding out your attachment style to really make sure you're actually anxious attached, because perhaps you're actually disorganized attached, or also a quiz to really find your subconscious core needs, and so much more. So make sure you grab this. It's for free, and you can just choose your specific free guide, tool, worksheet, whatever you want to grab. Journaling prompt 4 to really decide, is this a healthy or unhealthy need, is, if I only had 1 year to live, would this need still matter? And this, I think, is very powerful, even it's a little bit dark, but I think sometimes we just need this kind of, wow, okay, hey, hang on there. A healthy need might be more like, I would still want to feel, let's say, deep emotional intimacy, because this is my core need. An unhealthy need might be more like, I wouldn't care about getting instant replies to every text, because now you have this bigger picture. Journaling prompt number 5 is, have I filled my own cup first, or am I relying on my partner to do this for me? So a healthy need might sound more like, I prioritized self-care, so when we connect, it feels extra special, because you've already met your basic emotional needs first. So quality time with your partner only enhances, rather completes you. An unhealthy need sounds more like, I feel empty and I need them to make me feel whole again. I'm starving without them. So because you are making them responsible for your emotional state instead of just taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being. Journaling prompt number 6, is this a core need or just a preferred method of meeting that core need. That's what we talked about earlier. So a healthy need could be, I need to feel safe and respected in my relationship. An unhealthy need would be more like, I need you to tell me exactly what happened when you went out with your work colleagues. I need you to tell me who you met, what you talked about, what you ate, which pub you went to, and all of the details. This is just your preferred method to feel safe, to get transparency, and to, get respect. Journaling prompt 7. If your future happiness was guaranteed, you're happily ever after, would this need still matter? Drum roll. So a healthy need then might sound like, yes, duh, because it reflects my core needs. It's very important to feel safe, to be alive, to happy, thriving, and all of this stuff. An unhealthy need might more like, nah, because it's just addressing my core fear actually. If I knew exactly that I'll be okay tomorrow, I wouldn't need all of these things from my partner right now. I can drop all of this. Imagine you knew exactly with absolute certainty that you would be okay, deeply loved, completely secure, and your relationship would thrive. Would you still care about this specific need? If it disappears when your anxiety does, it's probably not a true need, right? Would you really care if your partner didn't buy you this huge gift on Valentine's Day? Or maybe would you really care if he forgets like little things, if you knew exactly that like in 30, 40 years time, he's still there for you, he's still showing up and he's deeply committed and you live your happily ever after? Would you really care? Remember, your needs are not the problem, but where they come from really matters. A healthy needs makes you feel secure, and an unhealthy need is more like a preferred method rather than a core need. And you are not needy, but it's your responsibility to fulfill your own needs, not your partner. And the best thing is, it gets easier as you practice. When you feel that urge of demanding something, ask yourself, what's my fear here? How can I meet this for myself first? Because when your needs come from security instead of fear, your relationship starts to shift. So which one of these journaling prompts have been most eye-opening for you? Let me know in the comments on YouTube. What we cover today is just actually part 1 of the 8-part Meet Your Relationship Needs series. In part 2, we're going to dive into something very game-changing, identifying your top unmet needs that's secretly driving your relationship behaviors and sabotaging your relationship. That is the missing piece for your anxious attachment style. And if you haven't checked out the episode where I'm talking about my 10 relationship lessons I've learned from my anxious attachment journey, where I used to be the red flag in my relationship, check out that video. So remember, change in your relationship starts with you. Thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode. I see you in part 2. See you. Bye bye, Yula.